Okay, I'm trying to make shorter, more precise, and to the point videos. So I'm going to try to make this as short and to the point as possible. But I love this thing. What's up YouTube, Jason here with Byte My Bits, and in today's video, I am talking about an extremely exciting product. Although, a couple disclosures here. First and foremost, as you guys probably know, I have a monthly sponsorship through Plex. And second off, SimplyNUC, in coordination with Plex, sent me this device for free for a review. So thank you Plex for sponsoring my channel every month, and thank you SimplyNUC for sending over this beautiful, beautiful machine. Now, I know a lot of you might be here just for the Plex stats, so I'm going to start off with that. But if you guys want to stick around, maybe just a little bit longer, I'm going to dive into some extra things I did with this little PC. So this is the SimplyNUC Homebase Media Server Extreme. This actually comes in 3 different flavors, Extreme being the top of the line, Pro being right in the middle, and Essential being the bottom tier. So the Extreme version that I'm talking about today has the Intel i7-10710U or 107100U. However you want to say those numbers, that's what it has. This one has 16 gigabytes of DDR4 2666 RAM, has a base OS SSD storage of 2 terabytes plus, get this, 8 terabytes of additional SSD storage. Whew. Burning my fingers. It has an AX200 Wi-Fi 6 chip, giving it a theoretical maximum throughput of 2.4 gigabits per second. And of course, a 1 gigabit LAN. I will get to that later in the video. Built right into this and all the other flavors of the device is Bluetooth 5, an infrared receiver, a quad array microphone. It supports 7.1 digital surround sound, up to 3 monitors at 4K resolution, has an SDXC card slot on the side, and if you haven't noticed, it has what I like to say, a cowl hood inspired hood. Basically, if you don't know, Intel builds these NUCs to spec, and they have a variety of different flavors that you can choose from, and a company like SimplyNUC can come in, do their configuration, add whatever tweaks they want. In this case, a quad TV tuner, that's right, a quad TV tuner built right into the top is an awesome cowl-inspired hood-looking thing. And then they can partner up with people like Plex to offer a standalone, just buy, set up, and go Plex media server that literally will probably put your server to shame. And I do not say that loosely. So now that I got the tech specs out of the way, let's jump right into the Plex. Oh man, I think I'm coming to a different method of appreciation for my Plex server testing. Before, it's all about the numbers. How many transcodes can you get? Not because you want to transcode, but because sometimes you have to. Well, SimplyNUC, and I will link in the description down below, on their website claims that this thing can transcode 12 streams at the same time. The version below it, 8 streams at the same time. And the bare minimum, bare essential version of this device, 4 streams. I saw those numbers and I thought to myself, okay, you know what? That's, I guess, what I expect. It is, after all, a very tiny, PC, a NUC. It's super low power. It only comes with a 90-watt brick, although I did see it spike to a little over 100, hovered around max of about 65-watt power draw, just so you know. And it idles at 15 watts. It doesn't matter. Okay. Plex. So I've come to appreciate a new level of judgment for Plex servers because their website says this thing can do 12. However, I found out through the enabling of hardware acceleration, which I suspect they did not enable on their side when they were testing. So, hey, that's cool. Through my testing, I was able to achieve 37 sustained transcodes at the same time. 30 frickin' 7. That's right. Holy bananas. I actually got 39, and when I do my testing, I like to watch the movies and see if any of them buffer at any point. I usually do that from anywhere from like 5 to 10 minutes, just kind of depending on whether or not I get caught up in the movie, which is Back to the Future, so it's more often than not. But 39 just wasn't working out. 38, a little close. 37, that was that sweet spot. That was taking that, I think, 18 megabit per second video file, that 1080p video file that I use, Back to the Future, of course, and transcoding it all the way down to 720p at 2 megabits per second. And that's where I pretty much concluded they did not enable hardware acceleration, and that's where the magic is with this device. hardware acceleration. This being an Intel 10th Gen i7 chip, it comes equipped with the Intel UHD graphics for 10th Gen processors. And every flavor that SimplyNUC sells comes with the same integrated graphics, meaning that you can enable hardware acceleration, assuming you have a Plex Pass, of course, and you can get a monster amount of streams compared to what they actually list on their website. I really don't want to speculate what their other cheaper options can do, but if this is supposed to do 12 and it did 37, I can only imagine what the one that's supposed to only do 8, probably do like 25. No, I'm not going to speculate, but I'm going to guess 26. The i3 version, I'm going to just throw it out there and probably say it can do 15. Again, I'm not going to speculate. That's not my job. I'm just reviewing this one thing. Things get a little bit interesting though, because 1080p really has been the thing for a long time when you're transcoding, but just recently Plex has started supporting HDR tone mapping. That means that you can transcode your beautiful 4K movie files all the way down to 2 megabits per second if that is what you want to do. Although, I don't know why you would want to do that. The HDR tone mapping, however, does take a toll on the server, and that was definitely shown in my testing. Using the 4K version of Back to the Future, I was able to transcode only 3 streams at the same time. That's with HDR on, which honestly doesn't really sound that impressive. However, what I wanted to do was not only test the HDR versus the non-HDR transcoding with this NUC, but I also kind of wanted to see like what it was back in the day, you know, like 2 weeks ago. So with no HDR tone mapping, it was able to transcode 7 streams at the same time. So if we're gonna hold it to an old standard before HDR tone mapping, 7 streams is still pretty boss. So that means that if you wanted to, you could go out, you could buy a pre-configured, it comes with Windows 10, a pre-configured Intel NUC that has a quad TV tuner that seamlessly integrates into Plex. All you have to do is plug this thing in and go through the initial steps of configuring Windows 10. Because when you boot up into your Windows 10 home version, which I'm not going to tell you that is the best operating system for Plex, that's not what this video is about. But when you do boot up into that operating system, Plex Media Server is already installed. You might have to update, sign in, but it's there. And that's what SimplyNUC in partnership with Plex is bringing to the table. A no BS, hands down, buy the best server you can possibly get massive quantities of storage, and you just plug and play. And that's it. You don't have to fiddle or fart with anything. And I know I glossed over the SSD storage on this, but this is no joke. 2 terabytes as the OS SSD. That's an M.2 Samsung Evo 860. For the raw additional 8 terabytes of storage, they threw in a Samsung 870 QVO. That's a total of 10 terabytes of storage, SSD storage. So it's easy to say that if you want a server that is super reliable, you just buy it, set it up, and you're good to go, and you have the money to spend. The SimplyNUC miniature PC could probably be a solution for you. Yes, I know you can build this server for cheaper if you were to do it yourself. It's not gonna be as small, it's not gonna be as power efficient, but yes, you could save yourself some money. Yes, I know SSDs are probably not the most ideal mass media storage solution, but SSDs have come a long way. And yes, I know, this hood looks amazing. At the end of the day, it really comes down to how much do you want to mess with your server. This runs Windows 10. That means it's easy for the average person to manage. It has super fast compared to spinning Rust SSDs in the NUC, making it a very responsive server, meaning that your metadata is going to load quick, your transcoding is going to load quick, you can skip ahead or backwards in a movie and it's going to load quick. And to top it all off, I did this by complete accident. It comes with Wi-Fi 6. And I completely forgot when I set it up and I went through all my testing that I did all of my testing while on Wi-Fi. I know, that's embarrassing. Hear me out though. When I realized that I was on Wi-Fi doing my testing and I hit my maximum, I plugged in an Ethernet cable and went back and redid all of my testing. It kind of sucked. But I got the exact same results. Now I have a TP-Link AX6000 router. I don't actually use it for the router, it's just an access point, but it is a Wi-Fi 6 router. This is a Wi-Fi 6 device, that is a Wi-Fi 6 router, and they just mesh well, like really great. As a server handling 37 transcoding requests at the same time without missing a beat and without changing in performance from wireless to Ethernet, That is impressive. That means that not only is this a small, low-power device that you can just buy, plug in, spend like 5 or 10 minutes setting up, and then just be on your merry way, but that just means that you can plug this thing in anywhere you want to and not have to worry about Ethernet. Not that I completely recommend it, but after seeing the performance, it's really hard to argue with it. I think as a Plex media server, it's too much. Like 37 streams? Holy bananas, I don't need that much. I barely use 5. Not that that matters, but I'm just saying. For me, I was curious on the aspect of what else can I do with it? Right now, I have a really crappy laptop, and sooner or later, coronavirus is going to go away, and hopefully, I will start going to events again. Now, I don't use my laptop for laptop-y things. I just move it from here to the hotel, and that's it. It sits there, it edits, it exports, it uploads, and then I pack it back up, and I bring it back home. So that got me thinking. What could this thing do on the go? And compared to my old, I think it has a 6700 Intel chip laptop that I have right now. Well, it puts that laptop to shame, as you would imagine. It's not even a fair comparison, but it is fully capable of handling some of the basic workflow things that I do on a weekly basis. First and foremost, raw image files with Photoshop. Now, when I use my laptop, or for that matter, even my work computer, I import a raw image and I'm using the sliders to adjust, the hue, the saturation, the texture. All of those things are so unresponsive. It's unusable. With this, it imports it, it's quick, it loads it fast. I can go through, I can make adjustments, I can edit in Photoshop, I can do whatever I want very seamlessly, very quickly, and I have no noticeable slowdowns. Which, considering the size, blew me away a little bit, but the true test was Adobe Premiere Pro. Yeah, I actually edited a video, kind of, with this NUC. Now bear in mind here that I am throwing the top of the line quality video footage that I can possibly throw at it in this testing. It's coming directly off my Sony FS7. We're talking 400 to 500 megabits per second video files. I mean, these things are massive files, and even for my main workstation PC can sometimes be a drag on the system. And as long as I didn't apply any color, like lumetri color, I could edit just fine. In fact, I think it was at full quality. It might have been half quality, but I'm pretty sure it was at full quality. However, whenever I try to add lumetri color, I do get a little bit of lag. It means it's not smooth playback, it's not usable. It's just one of those things that would just be more irritant than anything else. So I kind of got excited, like, oh my God, this could edit videos. But then, I tested it and it's not perfect, but it's still worlds better than my laptop. So you can always drop the quality down. Also, the whole color thing, you just edit the video. It looks like crap while you're editing. And then at the end of it, you color grade it when you don't actually have to play it back. Either way, this thing runs circles around what I have right now. And the next CES or Linus Tech Expo that I go to, I'm probably gonna take this and one of those little portable monitors. Actually, 2 of those little portable monitors, because this thing can handle up to 3 4K monitors. Oh man, I might have to buy more monitors. So, gaming. Believe it or not, this thing can actually play Cyberpunk 77 trailers off YouTube. Sorry, I just started playing Cyberpunk and I am super addicted. In fact, I don't even want to talk to the camera right now. One more mission before I go to bed. No, there's no way this thing is going to handle Cyberpunk, but I did load up Doom. I had to switch it to the lowest possible settings and only got like 17 to 20 frames per second, but it played Doom. And when I wasn't recording the screen or broadcasting it to another PC that was recording the screen, I got a few frames per second higher. Definitely not really that much of a playable experience, but hey, it worked. That means while I'm on the go, I'll be able to play things like, World of Warships or Among Us. Those are the other games I play. Probably Overwatch too. Now, it's not all rainbows and butterflies, however. This thing does have kind of an Achilles heel, something that I've touched base on in videos before. And that is, it has a 1 gigabit NIC. Now, the SSDs that this thing uses is only an M.2 SATA SSDs, which means they are limited, and this is confirmed in my testing, they are limited to 517 to 20-ish read and 480 to 490 write speeds. And that's pretty much what you'd expect from the SSDs that are spec'd out in the system. However, it is spec'd out with SSDs and it is heavily limited by 1 gigabit NIC. I really wish that this would have came with, at minimum, a 2.5 gig NIC. Seriously, I still feel like that should be a new standard for all devices. I mean, you have this thing that is a beast and it's 1 gigabit NIC. Now true, if you have a Wi-Fi 6 router, you can theoretically get 2.4 gigabits per second, but unfortunately, I don't have any connection to my wireless router that's faster than 1 gig. Everything that I have right now is either 10 gig or 1 gig. So the connection that goes to my router is limited to 1 gig, which means that I have no way to flex this to its maximum throughput because I'm limited by 1 gig. Oh, it's just nasty to say. The next thing I want to touch on is that it comes with a quad array of microphones, which means it's basically meant for like conferencing or, being on Discord, something like that. However, I did test it and, it leaves a little bit of room to be desired. This is exactly what the microphone sounds like when I'm about 3 feet away from the NUC. I am definitely projecting my voice just a little bit and there's some background noise going on, but this should give you a pretty good idea of what it sounds like. Just bear in mind that if you are using something like Discord, there will be some noise cancellation going on. So, it could help with the clarity quite a bit. So as you can see, it's not fantastic. I definitely don't recommend using the built-in microphone for anything critical, but in a pinch, it will do. And the last thing that I want to talk about that's probably on everybody's mind, temperatures. Now with the i7-107-7100U, it actually idles right around 1.1 to 1.2 gigahertz, which is great. That's how it achieves literally 15 watts idle. I mean, it just sits there at 15 watts. Like I have light bulbs that stay on all the time, way more than that. But when it really needs to kick into gear, it can go all the way up to 4.7 gigahertz. That doesn't mean it will actually stay there. It's only for peak performance, but it can still do it. What I found is that under light load, to get the fastest response, and I'm thinking like 70% load here, under that kind of load, it actually sits at 3.5 gigahertz. And the temperatures are right around 82 to 85 degrees Celsius, which means that it hits its max turbo and then it gets overheated and it calms itself down. Now, when I was pushing this thing to its limits, that means, testing out the UHD graphics along with the CPU, just flexing all the Plex that I possibly can, it lowered itself down all the way down to 2.9 gigahertz. And while in that range, it was sitting around 85 to 90 degrees Celsius. So it got up there a little bit. I think its TJ max was like 104, so it kind of hits that and then it thermal throttles itself down to bring it down to a more reasonable temperature, which, hey, I like that. But still, that means if you're going to be doing something like Plex optimized, for example, or any kind of crunching of exporting a video or anything that's going to have sustained, just flexing on this device, you're probably going to be sitting around the 2.9 gigahertz range. So SimplyNUC Home Media Server Extreme. They have the other variations. They have the Essential and then they have the Pro. One gives you an i3, the other gives you an i5. When it really comes down to it, if you're looking for just a quick media server, you probably don't need the Extreme. You'll probably want the extra storage, but the Extreme might be a little overkill for most people. But if you really want to use the SimplyNUC for other things, you might want to consider the i7. So there you have it. Jason from Byte My Bits says, this thing is overpowered, and it's probably too much for most people. But the benefit with it being completely overpowered is that you can change your transcoding quality, and it is super quick. And of course, if you wanted to, you could also use this as a Plex media player. I did not test that because I'm going to be featuring and using this device as a centerpiece to a video that I'm working on. That means I'm going to be testing it as a Plex client while using it as a Plex media server while I am testing all of these clients that I have not unwrapped yet because I haven't had a chance to take any kind of B-roll, and I'm still trying to finish my garage. This thing is going to be the Plex server for the testing for all of this because it's fast. I want to test all of these clients to see how responsive they are. How quick do they change, quality, stuff like that. And this little miniature server, unfortunately, kind of puts Loki to shame, which kind of has a lot to do with the media being stored on hard drives in unraid versus an SSD directly attached to the device. So, it's kind of an unfair battle, but still, because it's so responsive, and because it's so smooth, I'm gonna use it for all of my testing. Well guys, that's it for today. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure to leave those in the comments down below. As always, you can find links to these products in the description of this video. So thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and have yourself a good day.